Dude, I just need to make money or get some clients or something. Have you tried building an audience? Mostly just cold DMs and praying. Dude, that sounds more like Bon Jovi living on a prayer. More like every day I get ghosted, my soul dies a little in my Gmail. Even Bon Jovi would ignore your DMs, bro. What's up, guys? It's Frankie here. In this video, I want to show you guys how to make money with digital assets, and I'll tell you why these last two things, why you actually want to make your money from digital assets, is when you do this right, your income gets a divorce from your effort. In fact, you guys are actually watching one version of a digital asset. This video, whether 6 people watch it or 6 million, it's no actual extra effort for me. And so when you have your income tied to digital assets, what happens is, as you acquire and accumulate those, you get additional revenue, but it doesn't create additional effort from you. And most people, by the way, don't have this divorce. I'm gonna lay out for you exactly which digital assets, how you can acquire them in this exact video. For those of you guys who don't know me already, my name's Frankie Finn. I wrote these 2 best-selling books called Beyond the Agency Box and Passive Automated Recurring Income, which you can find below this video. And I've been doing this thing now for 20 years, and I'll tell you, it's really only the last 5 years that I've been able to have my income come from digital assets instead of real me, who doesn't like to work 24/7, 365 like digital me does. And I want to show you guys exactly how you can do the exact same for yourselves in this video. So let's get into it.
Yo, it's Frankie Finn. Beach mode engaged. Looms loaded, AI's humming. Let's go!
All right, motherfuckers, so let's get into the kind of digital assets. And when you understand this, you'll realize you can actually acquire them. They're literally everywhere. In fact, for me, I started to realize this opportunity is so fucking big, it's like literally everywhere. And let's talk about the thing that is actually the least valuable asset, but it's the one everybody seems to be the most obsessed about. It is the product and the service, right? Like, let's say you got a digital course or something like that, or you got your own service, right? Like, that is an asset. I don't want to tell you it's not valuable, but this is the thing, is people get way too close to it. They feel like their product and service is their income, and it's kind of like this.
And Blue!
Yes, sir.
Do you trust that I do not want to see you die here tonight?
Sir, yes, sir.
Blue, you're my boy!
Thank you, sir.
So this is actually the lowest, most least valuable asset on the totem pole. And I want to show you guys what is actually the most valuable, and that is what I would call the audience or distribution. Really a bunch of people. So for example, we had a guy, he might actually be watching this, shout out to Peter. He made a deal with a guy who had a YouTube channel of 750,000 subscribers, and they agreed to partner and put out an offer together. Well, if you got almost 750,000 people watching and you put out an offer, even with the exact same product and service, you're gonna sell a whole bunch more. So this is actually the most valuable, and if you understand how to acquire audiences and distribution, you basically have a license to print money. You're gonna feel this cool.
What would you do if you had $1 million?
I'll tell you what I'd do, man. 2 chicks at the same time, man.
Okay, so it's really, really important to understand, if you want to make money with digital assets, these things go together, but we want to start with the most valuable thing, which is the audience. And by the way, where do people in this day and age have audiences? And a better question is, where don't they, right? We see people who have audiences on LinkedIn. We see people who have audiences on Facebook. We see people who have audiences on the old Instagram. We see it on the old TikTok, right? People in this day and age can get relatively rich and famous just from a camera. In fact, a lot of them are just winging it totally like this.
Who are you?
Me? I know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
What? In fact, by the way, if we're able to acquire other people's audiences, and by the way, you'd be amazed at how many people are willing to sell their entire audience for less than $100. You can often stick mountains of other people's products and services into them, affiliate offers and things like that, and begin monetizing them for 100x the value of the audience almost immediately, because you acquired a dedicated, loyal following, interested sort of group of people. So let's talk about another one, which is processes, right? So I'll give you an example. I'll give you guys examples of these so you can understand how this works in the real world. One of our guys in our mastermind, he runs an SEO agency. He does, SEO for a certain local type of business. And I said to him, I bet you there would be other agencies who would be willing to pay for all your processes and systems. In other words, like, why do you think people pay so much for a franchise? Like 75% of franchises succeed and 90% of local businesses fail. So if you try it on your own, you got a 1 in 10 chance of succeeding. If you try it with a franchise, you got almost an 8 in 10 chance of succeeding. That's like almost an 8x improvement. Why is that? Well, because they have a process for everything. They have a process for how they get supplies. They have a process for marketing. They have a process for ordering, right? Like, why do people buy a McDonald's franchise? Because they got a process for literally fucking everything. Well, there are tons of people in the world that have processes that they just built them for themselves, and they never really thought about, I wonder who else could use this. Tell you another type of digital asset, and this one is called content. And one of the interesting things about content is content can be used to create other content. So for example, one of the things that we've done is gone to people who have YouTube channels, take 20 of their best videos, get the transcriptions, have ChatGPT clean them up, and then we output that as a book, right? There's one example, right? Content can be repackaged. We could have done the same thing with a course. We could do the same thing as tools, right? Like custom GPTs and things like that. We could create AI tools out of it. So there are mountains and mountains and mountains of content on the internet that you could repackage into additional products, services, and a lot of the people who have the content already have the audience. So you could be like, hey, I'll help you create a cool tool, course, product, book, whatever, and we'll go 50-50 on it. You'd be amazed at how many times you can make super easy money just taking content that's been sitting around for 5 or 10 years and really just organizing it and packaging it into a way that's totally usable. Now this next one is really, really important that you don't fuck it up. Otherwise, this is what happens.
Now this is a little different than most transmissions. First stop drive doesn't work, but third does. Neutral is park, reverse is second. If you want to use reverse, put it in drive. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
And the accelerator sticks too, so be careful. But don't be afraid of it. You got to give it to her or it's going to stall.
I can do this, Ricky.
I fucking hope so, Trevor. Now take it for a little test drive and get used to it.
I know how to drive, man.
You also know how to be stupid, and I don't want you to fuck this up because this is my home.
So you really care about these guys?
Erica, I care about everybody in this park. There's a lot of really good, hard-working, and decent, intelligent people that live here.
Fucking idiot, drive
It's called marketing assets, and this is a thing that I figured out many years ago, is that most products and services can be sold either through a video or a Google Doc. And what that means in terms of practical stuff is those videos and G-Docs can operate 24/7, 365, independent of our income. And by the way, there are so many things out there that can be easily turned into videos and Google Docs, and then simply taking audiences and directing them here. And what happens is it will output sales and cashola for you, but this will operate independent of you, right? Like for me, like when I make a sales pitch inside of a Google Doc, I don't have to stand there and make that sales pitch 100 times. In fact, anytime somebody checks it out, in fact, today we just had a couple of sales in the last couple of hours where I got to, help set up and onboard new people that just came in from a Google Doc, right? Like, well, we were basically like I was taking a nap with my kids and sales were still coming in because the marketing asset was continuing to work in the background. Last but not least, we got people and teams. I want to tell you something a little bit about people and teams, is that what most people don't understand is that other people's assets can be yours. And this is really, really important because it's kind of like this.
If you ain't first, you're last. You know what I'm talking about? That phrase is trademark, not to be used as a tradition of Ricky Bobby.
If you're not first, you're last, baby. So I'll tell you a little story that kind of illustrates the power of people and teams. Years ago, I was working with Dan, and he found this guy who had a bunch of like a call center in the Philippines. And there was something like 400 or 500 people, and they primarily worked in the real estate space, but they had just lost a big contract. And so they really didn't need 100 or 200 of those people. And they didn't really want to fire them, and they didn't have an urgent need to fire those people. So they were working on getting them new deals, but they had weeks and weeks and weeks where those people were underutilized. And we said to them, if you want, We can have these people do outbound calling for our stuff. Anything they sell, we'll give you a commission on it. And we plugged in our existing marketing asset because we had a working script. And we had an outbound team of 100 people every day who hit the phones going to sell our stuff. And here's the crazy part. We spent no upfront money to get that. So this is what I kind of wanted to illustrate with this story, is that one of the things that happened is, as I've gotten sort of more into real estate investing over the last few years, one of the things that became really, really obvious in real estate investing is, when do you make money in real estate investing? And the answer is when you buy something, not when you sell it. The money is realized when you sell. But like, for example, if we have a house here, okay, and we're gonna fix it up. So this is my bad attempt at a hammer. Let's make that as a hammer, all right? And you go and you sell it for cash. And over here is you acquiring it. The amount of money that you acquire it for over here often determines whether you're gonna make money. So for example, if you acquire this house at 50% value, you're almost fucking guaranteed to make money. But if we change that number to 90%, you may make money, but you may also lose money on that deal. And so what I realized is the real secret to making money as an investor or a digital deal maker is the moment you acquire things. Now, why does this matter? Okay, I spent the first 15 years of my internet marketing career trying to sell stuff, trying to sell products and services, right? Maybe a little bit of audience building, but mostly just trying to sell products and services. And what I started to realize is that all of these things could be acquired for the right offer. You can acquire somebody else's product and service. Hey, I want to sell your product and service for you. Would you be open to giving me a commission? Would you let me license that? Would you let me resell that if I went out there and helped you make some extra money? Audiences. Hey, lots of ways you can acquire control of an audience by saying, hey, I got an idea to sell something really cool to your audience that would benefit them. Would you be down to split it 50-50? Or you can just outright say, hey, have you ever thought about selling your email list? Have you ever thought about selling your LinkedIn group, your Facebook group, your Instagram following, your TikTok? Have you ever thought about just selling it? How much would you want for that? And I'll tell you, a lot of times, especially if they're not making any offers, it means it's all work for them and they're not making money. You'd be amazed at how often we're able to acquire audiences for under $100. Processes. Hey, you worked really, really hard to build these systems and processes. I think it would also benefit people over here, not just you. I know you created them for yourself, but if I went and sold that for you, would you be interested in making a whole extra side income? You don't need to do anything. I'll put together the deal for you. Content. Hey, I noticed you have this content sitting around, so I repackaged it into a book, into a course, into a thing, so that we can go 50-50 partners on selling it. Would you be open to checking this out and seeing if it's something you think your audience would want? Marketing assets. Somebody's got a sales pitch that's working in real life. Take the recording, turn that into a video, turn that into a Google Doc. Hey, in fact, Kevin Harrington, one of the things he did is when he got his first deal that took off, he took the Ginsu knives presentation that was working in real life. They were given at these exhibitions and shows. The guy would sell 15, 20 knives at a time. He just said, I want to film it. In other words, I want to take your existing sales process that's working and convert it to a digital asset into a video, and then I want to deliver that into somebody else's TV audience, and I want to make sales all day, every day. And what he was able to do is sell knives and sell knives and sell knives. Again, they weren't his product and service, wasn't his audience, but what he did control is the marketing asset, and what he did control was the audience, right? You put those two things together, and then people and teams. Hey, you got some underutilized people. I got an idea for you to help monetize. Would you be open to something like that? So all of these work together, by the way, to be able to create income for you separate of these things. But the trick of this is, instead of focusing, waking up and going, how do I sell something, which is what everybody else thinks, you go, how do I acquire one of these? How can I acquire a product? How can I acquire an audience? How can I acquire a process? How can I acquire a content? How can I acquire marketing assets? How can I acquire people and teams? And often, by the way, this takes creativity, not cash. So it's really irrelevant whether you have $1 billion or not, because most times what it takes is creativity, right? It takes requiring. And by the way, when I say creativity, what I mean specifically, if you can think of just one more use, just one more use than that person can think of, right? I can think of one more thing you could do with that audience. I can think of one more thing you could do with that process. I can think of one more thing you could do with that product or service. I could think of one more thing you could do with that content. I could think of one more thing you could do with that sales pitch, that marketing asset. I could think of one more thing you could do with those people or those teams. There's going to be money in it for you. So that's all you really have to think about is like, you look at these assets, if you can think of one more thing, then you can be acquired. And you can acquire it two ways: directly asking to buy it. How much would it cost me if you wanted to sell this thing to me? By the way, unlike houses, they don't know their house is worth $100,000. Often it's just work and effort and they're not making any money. And so sometimes they're happy to just give it to you. Sometimes I even got these for free. I've actually acquired a 65,000 person buyers Facebook group completely for free. The person just said, I don't want to deal with it anymore. It's yours. So I share that with you because, you know, you can outright buy it or you can do control, right? Like, which costs nothing. Hey, I took your content, I created a course out of it. I'd love to sell it, 50-50 partners, right? Like that's zero acquisition cost, and yet you'll be able to make a whole bunch of money. So there are mountains of these digital assets. In fact, every time you scroll LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, whatever the fuck you're on, whatever your flavor is, these assets are right in front of you. And so what I wanted to do personally is take my cat scrolling time and go, it's mostly like wrestling and cooking shows, but like when I'm watching wrestling and cooking shows, how can I actually make money while I'm doing this? And the answer became to acquire. So I hope that you guys are having massive, massive ahas when you see this, because it gives you the chance to divorce time and money, right? It gives you the ability to make money while you're napping with your kids because your digital assets are still working even when your ass is asleep in bed. So I hope you guys are seeing the power of that, and that's all I got for this video. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe, and may the force be with you.